Today's youth need teachers, volunteers, and most of all, well, they need you. I'm Doug Edwards, and I'm going to be talking with real youth mentors and students to give you the knowledge you need to be the best youth worker possible. This is Youth Worker on Fire.
Oh, you're trying to bring me down and run me out of town. You're taking what you want, but you can't take my rhythm now. I'm walking to my own beat, just gonna be me. I'm not replicating nobody.
Now, I don't know about you, but I love to laugh. I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. I love to smile. I love to be happy. But it's not always easy. I used to say having fun with students is hard work. And it is. When you've got to do it day after day and week after week, and yet you're trying to get across a serious message. But here's something I heard in a seminar one time, and that was, laughter makes you 31% smarter. And when they broke it down, they said laughter or making people smile. And so the one thing that you want to do is make your students and your staff smarter, because that means that they are more engaged, because they're happier. We learn better. I know that a lot of things we learn well because of pain, and they stay in there. But we learn willingly because of laughter and because of having fun. I did not do as many conferences because I realized even though there was some great spiritual content, we were going to beautiful places in the mountains and seaside and ocean, hotels and things like that for conferences. And we're staying indoors most of the time in a large conference area. So we started taking it to the mountains, to the snow, and we had devotionals and lead students to Christ in the snow, and we'd have things in the hotel as well. But we wanted to be mobile. We wanted to be in the environment. We do the same thing at the ocean. We live in Florida. Come on. We go to the Keys occasionally. That one didn't work out as much as I wanted it to. But we go to the ocean because it was close by and do some weekend retreats there, and especially to the mountains, because it was a different environment for us. But what about games? What about every week? What about making our students laugh? What I found, and you may have found this too, that the best pastors or the best speakers seem to always be really funny, even though they're delivering a very serious message. Even if they just do a joke up front, and maybe sometimes a joke in the middle. Sometimes they'll engage with some kind of icebreaker with the crowd. We do the same thing in student ministries and with people who would come to speak to large groups. And we find that it really works well when we have small groups, those intimate groups, and we can still make students laugh or engage with each other through games or icebreakers. In fact, I was listening to ministry coach Kristen Lascola and her husband, and you can go there and you can go look up top 10 games of student ministry. And if you scroll down there, you'll see her videos, and she'll talk about some of the great games that she does and engage in how to do them. And remember, Paul said, I am all things to all people, so that by all means some might be saved. And some of you are going, well, you're really stretching that. That's really not talking about. Well, why don't you take a look at the daily life of Jesus with his disciples? Sometimes it had to be absolutely crazy. I know that he laughed at them at times because he was human. He wasn't a man of sorrows every single day, and they followed him for different reasons. But he knew how to engage people, and he usually engaged them from where they were. But the best communicators that I've seen make students laugh, make staff laugh, the volunteers laugh, the youth pastors laugh as well. And youth pastors, I remember I'm really better at humor with sarcasm, but I stopped doing so much sarcasm because sarcasm can always lead into really hurting somebody's feelings. And so I had to really start working at humor. Some people think I'm funny and some people think I'm not, and so that's the way it's always going to be, but try to come up with the kind of humor you can. But relays with high school students seem to really work. And you got to get the right type of relays. You've got to try to engage certain students. If you're with a smaller group and you got smaller groups and you can only break down into groups of 2 and 3 per group, you might want to do some type of smaller type games, but you want something that's going to make them laugh at each other. And I was really shocked, and I saw this with the junior high ministry book by Wayne Rice, and there's a new edition of that, and that's an old book, but the games in that book, it talked about psychology, it talked about spirituality of middle schoolers and junior hires, and it broke it down to 4 or 5 different sections. And one section had games, because all of us are looking for good games and great games. Having fun with students is hard because they don't just engage easily and laugh easily. They laugh at each other, they laugh at you, but laughing with you is a whole nother thing. And those games also worked for high school students because that's still adolescence, just a little bit different level. And they also work with college students. One thing it said was do hide and seek. I'm going, you have got to be kidding me. And one of our favorite games in middle school student ministry was hide and seek. We had this giant gym. Now, I didn't hold my breath. It took years for them to build the gym. I wasn't even in favor of them building a gym. I wanted different types of engaging places, but the gymnasium, which also had classrooms and things like that, really worked as an amazing place to do a lot of things. And hide and seek was one of them. And they told us specifically how to do it and different things like that. And I thought, there's no way this is going to work. And we played that, maybe once every 6 weeks because it was so good. There's not many games that you can play more than maybe twice a year, and you have to find other games and other different things. And remember, everybody doesn't want to play a game. Everybody doesn't want to get engaged. That's why sometimes you use icebreakers, or you use things where only 2 or 3 people are doing the activity and everybody else is watching, because some people are just too embarrassed. And so you want to go where they are and not pull them along. How many times have you tried to pull students in? I did it, but it's not really good. It's better for them to want to be engaged themselves and the other students want to. Finally, I got to the place where I would go, you know what? It's okay. You can sit over here for a while. If you want to engage later, you can do it. And so we started sometimes letting them just not engage in the activity that we're doing, a lot less stress on us, and yet they were still there and they were watching. Go and find those different ones. So I looked this up. I thought, well, where are some of the games and what are some of the things that are out there, top 5 games and things like that. And that's where I found that Kristen, who I've interviewed also on this podcast, Kristen's videos, I just think they're amazing. But when I look up 5 of the top rated crowd breaker games for high school students, I didn't even go middle school. This time I went high school. And, I believe in divisional things where you have high school and middle school and you do different things for different ones of them. First of all, before I go to that, and I'll read off some of those games that they listed as some of the top ones. But when I looked up making people 31% smarter, laughter makes you 31% smarter, several things came up, several headings. Does laughter make you smarter? This is Maya Kerr. Don't even know who she is. In her article, the title is Humor and Laughter Have Been Shown to Contribute Significantly Towards Our Overall Intelligence, Mental Health, and Well-Being. And the other headings is laughing good for the brain? Another heading, does laughing give you 8 years to your life? This might even be a topic for you, for your student ministry and or your staff. Who said laughter is the best medicine? That's the question, and it goes into it. Does laughing cause euphoria? Laughter is the best medicine. Laughter makes us smarter, and other brain bites. So it goes into those things. When I looked up games, some of the games it listed were name bingo. So you can look up name bingo. Those sort of games are always good, especially if they're smaller groups. The indoor scavenger hunt. And we did an outdoor scavenger hunt. We did some exotic stuff because I had some really incredible staff, volunteers that stayed with me for years and years and years. But the indoor one was create a list of items, and we did this too, for players to find around the house or church. And by the way, I believe in engaging and taking your student ministry to different homes occasionally as well. Now, we did it for about 3 years, and there was reasons behind that. I did it in Campus Life Ministry because that's just the way we did it, as well as community buildings. And those are warm atmospheres to go to the right homes. You want to make sure you know which home and what you're going to, and if they're inviting and the parents and students are willing and love for you to be there and come over. You want that to happen in a great way. A church building, is with a set time limit. You give them a set time limit. You have items that you write down for them to find. And you want to make sure it's not invasive or something that you're going to end up breaking something. Make sure you give thought to some of these things, okay? Now, we did a scavenger hunt to where our staff all were able to drive. If you were 25 years of age or older, because that was the insurance limit, we trusted our guys to be good drivers. We tested them out in different things before we did things like that. But they would come and we'd bring parents on board with these things too, and they would do these scavenger hunts throughout the community. And many times they would help engage and grab other students and say, would you come? You will get 3,000 points if we bring another student back, to our student ministry meetup after the scavenger hunt. Do you want to go with us? And the parents sometimes would say, yes, you can go with them. And they would go and they'd bring back the students. And that would engage these students and they would end up coming back to student ministry and they'd be long-term people with us. So there's all kinds of extravagant things like that. And then there's indoor things, just like we said, the indoor scavenger hunt, the indoor hide and go seek. And then I would go visit Kristen Lascola. She's just got such great videos on, and her headings right here, I'm looking at it was 4 icebreakers for small youth groups. Another one is icebreaker games for youth groups. The list goes on and on and on. And she explains some of these things, she and her husband. There's all kinds of things that you can do, but make students laugh. Get great, funny movies. They don't have to be Christian movies, but they're openers and things like that, but they have to be clean. They have to be things that most everyone would laugh at or engage with or gasp and laugh at, like, oh, no, I can't believe it, But do something that will engage your students in laughter before you take them to a message of Christ or messages in the Bible so that you can get their brain going and engaged. And plus, they may have had a really hard day that day. Why do you want people to laugh? Well, they may have had a terrible day and they didn't laugh at all. People were yelling at them at school or at their after-school job or their parents, they're in a fight with them or something. And there needs to be something that's going to release those endorphins and release all of that tension that is built up from the day. So games are good. Some people think laughter makes us 31% smarter. Being smarter helps us to hear better. And we want to engage people so that the Holy Spirit can speak to them. In our student ministry, we want them to know that we understand that they are students, then they need to be energetic. They need to be able to laugh. And so there you go. I hope that's a good tip for you. I hope those are some good starting points for you. We also use youth specialties materials. Youth specialties is not necessarily the go-to place, but they probably still have some great stuff. But the early years in that and their big catalogs of games are probably still available online. You can go there. But you can also go to other youth workers and youth pastors in your area and just give them a call and say, hey, what were some of the best things that you did that are safe, that are not going to get us in trouble, but your kids just laughed their heads off at, or they thought it was the best thing in the world? Call several people that you know that are in student ministry that you trust, and don't always do everything they say, but find the ones that fit you and that you could do. This is Youth Worker on Fire, and we will see you next week.
You've been listening to the Youth Worker on Fire podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and tell your friends. Also, leave a comment and tell us what you think. Stay tuned for more informative episodes.